Good evening, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis by StudyIQ IS English channel. Now, today is 8th of April, and we are going to discuss important news and articles from the Indian Express. We'll start off our today's discussion by understanding why is actually Indian as well as global stock markets fell yesterday. Now, we'll also try to understand the various reasons by which the markets rise or markets fall. Now, from your exams point of view, you have to understand that the major commentary given in the newspapers today, something that are not relevant from your exams perspective. What is relevant in understanding some of the key terms that may have been used in the newspapers more often than usual. Now, this article is relevant from external sector, it is relevant from financial markets. All of this is a part of GS paper 3 syllabus. Now, usually these kind of topics, they appear mostly in prelims examination. So therefore, in this prelims examination, such topics becomes very relevant. In the second article, we'll be understanding the crisis that has been going on in order or specifically related to production and cultivation of cotton in India. Now, you understand India is largest cultivator of cotton, but in recent years, as against the other crops, the production and the cultivation of cotton have actually fallen down. So we'll try to understand the reasons behind it, and also we'll try to understand what are the measures has government taken in recent years which has actually made India the biggest cultivator of cotton. Now, cotton is one of the most important cash crops in India, also known as white gold. Therefore, this is a major crop, therefore also relevant from GS paper 3 perspective. In the third article, we'll be understanding equivalence certificate which are usually issued by UGC, that actually certifies your degree which you may have gotten from a foreign based university. Now, the criteria based on which these equivalence certificates are issued in India, these have been revised. So we'll try to understand those revised criteria in our today's discussion. Now, these become very important from GS paper 2 perspective, because in GS paper 2 there's a separate topic known as social justice, which includes health as well as education. In the fourth article, we'll be understanding the Dhruv advanced light helicopters. Now, Dhruv advanced light helicopters are manufactured and designed in India, but due to recent accidents that have happened, the entire fleet of Dhruv advanced light helicopters that are there in Indian Air Force, that are there in Indian Army, have been grounded. Now, the reasons why they have been grounded may not be important from your exams perspective, but what is important is this platform, Dhruv helicopters itself, because many important aircrafts, many important defense equipments have been subject of a UPSC prelims question in one way or the other. So we'll understand all the relevant facts relating to this particular helicopter. In the fifth article, we'll be understanding about an aircraft. This aircraft again is designed and developed in India. Now, this is the first instance when a civilian passenger aircraft has been designed and developed into India, and how it will be beneficial for an Indian aviation sector in general. We'll try to understand this in our today's discussion. Now, these two articles majorly are relevant from prelims perspective, but in the last article I'll be dealing in detail about BIMSTEC. Now, you understand recently the meeting for BIMSTEC happened in Thailand and PM Modi also went there, and we have covered this topic particularly from prelims perspective, that is the details regarding the BIMSTEC organization. But our today's perspective or today's discussion deals with the mains aspect of the syllabus. Why has BIMSTEC or the relevance of BIMSTEC has increased in recent times? What are the challenges that India might face with in order to engage with the members of BIMSTEC, and what should Indian government do in order to increase the relevance of this organization further for India's geopolitical importance? We'll try to understand in our today's discussion. Now, any multilateral body which is important from India's perspective, they are part of GS paper 2 syllabus, and therefore makes it relevant from our mains perspective. Also, we'll try to revise important facts related to BIMSTEC so that we, in case the question appears in the prelims this year, we are able to mark it correctly, right? So these are the 6 articles that we are going to cover. Now, the Telegram channel that I use to upload notes every day, also you can submit your answers which I make you write in the sessions. The purpose of these initiative is to actually inculcate the habit of answer writing, because we have understood the most the tedious thing that the aspirants face is how to write the answers and when to write the answers. But you understand, you can't just ignore this fact. You have to, in any circumstances, if you want to clear prelims, you have to make sure this answer writing habit develops into a much better answers. So therefore, I encourage you to write these answers, and you can use this platform to submit it. You can ask the opinions of your peers, and I also will give you feedback in how to write the answers, right? Now, this is the mains related question that we will take up today. Despite India's proactive engagement, the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, BIMSTEC, has struggled to emerge as a robust regional grouping. Critically examine the major challenges in India-BIMSTEC relations and also suggest measures to enhance India's leadership and cooperation with the bloc. So, the subject matter and the fodder material for this answer I'll be providing you in our today's discussion, and please make sure to attempt these answers. Now we'll start off our today's discussion with these articles. These appeared on the front page and on the explained page of the Indian Express today, and both of this, as you can say, highlight one thing, that yesterday and also 2 days before, the markets, India and globally, they've fallen down a lot because of one factor only, that is imposition of tariff by Donald Trump. Now tariff, its principles, how it impacts various economies, we have already done it. So in our today's discussion, what becomes important are the key related terms of stock market, right? Also in the recent years prelims, particularly from 2020, especially when India's and the retail participation in stock markets have increased, we have also seen that the UPSC's attention towards this topic, particularly financial market, have been increased. So in recent times, you'll see every prelims 1 or 2 question belongs or comes from this topic, and some are very easy, right? So in that regard, the context of this article is that global stock markets, including Indian markets, have continued to plunge on Monday, that was April 7th, as United States President showed no signs of backing away from the sweeping tariffs that he had announced last week. Now, notably, an index known as S&P 500, which is a stock market index tracking the performance of 500 largest publicly traded companies in the US, on Monday, it briefly entered bear market territory. Now, what is bear market territory? I will tell you in our today's discussion. Now, to assess the performances of stock market, there are 2 ways. Either you can assess the performances of each and every stock that might be listed on the stock market, but you understand that may go into thousands. So how will you understand, is the stock market performing good or bad today? So for that, many countries, they make an index. Now, that index might include some of the important companies that are listed on the stock market, which are an indicator of how the stock market functions. For example, in India, you might have heard there is an index called as Nifty. Now, Nifty is an index of national stock market, and it includes 50 top companies who are listed in the National Stock Exchange. Similarly, there is also another index called as Sensex. Now, this Sensex is an index of Bombay Stock Exchange, particularly 30 top companies in the Bombay Stock Exchange. So that is why performance of National Stock Exchange in a particular day, we can assess it using the Nifty index, which highlights 50 or the top 50 companies listed in the Nifty. Its performance is indicated in Nifty. So we understand this is how NSE might be performing. Similarly, you can assess the performance of Bombay Stock Exchange by assessing Sensex. Similarly, in US also, there are many index known as Dow Jones, known as NYSE, known as NASDAQ. All of these are indexes which are used to assess the performance of American markets. Similarly, S&P 500 is also an index which assesses the performance of 50 largest publicly traded company in US. So these are how indexes are made. Understand which companies are included in Nifty, not important. Which companies are included in Sensex, not important. How many companies are included, that becomes important. And this list, it changes or it gets revised periodically, right? Now, in this regard, you may have heard 2 terms whenever there is an article in the stock market: bear market and bull market. So what is the difference between these 2 terms? In what ways we can say that a market is a bull market, or in what case can we say that a market is bear market? Please understand, today I'll tell you each and everything. Now, first let us deal with bear market, because that was in news. Now, bear market is a scenario when stock indexes, it sinks or it falls down at least 20% from its peak state. Suppose if the index value earlier was 10,000, and if it falls down by 20%, that it comes down less than 8,000, this means the market is in its bear phase. Now this term is not an official definition, rather it is a shorthand term which is used to communicate how the index is performing. Now bear market, it is a different scenario from where the market gets corrected. When does market gets corrected? Suppose you have invested in a stock, that stock value was 100 rupees. Now suppose after a month or two, that stock's value increases to rupees 150. So technically you are making 50 rupees profit on a stock, right? So in order to cash your profit, what you will do? You will sell that stock. Similarly, other people who might be owning that stock will also sell. So whenever large scale selling happens to recover profits from the market, that is known as correction. Now the definition or difference between correction and bear market is if it falls down to at least 10% or more, but less than 20%, that is known as market correction, and it is a very healthy phenomenon in the market, because what is the primary motive of any investor in the stock market? To make profit. So whenever they are making profit, market falls down a bit, this is perfectly fine. But due to many sentiments, due to many negative sentiments in the economy, if the market falls down further, because people want to take their money out of stock market, and if it falls down to more than 20%, that is called as bear market. Understand the difference between bear market and stock market. Now the reverse of bear market is bull market. So suppose if the bull market increases by 20%, if it was earlier the index was 10,000, if it increases to 12,000 or more, that is known as a phase of bull market. So this is the difference between bear and bull. Bear pushes it down, bull pushes it up. Now good evening Sarang, Baga, Augustine, Niranjan, Bhanu. Sorry, let me scroll down. Mohit, Yashi, Blueberry, Lydia, Mahesh, Mohit. Yes. So this is the difference between bear and bull market. I hope I have made it very clear. So why does bull market appear, or why does bear market happen? We have to understand the conditions that can lead to bear market. Now bear market, or for that matter all types of market, they decline whenever they are motivated, or investors, they are motivated to sell rather than buy stocks. Now this is a very simple matter of demand and supply. Now suppose that whenever a company is performing better or overall economy is better, so you understand the stock markets will grow because the companies are performing better. So in that case, the demand for stocks will also increase, because who wouldn't want to make money in the stock market, right? So whenever demand of the stocks increase, their price also grows up. Similarly, whenever economy is not performing well, so companies also, they start not performing so well. So in that case, whenever the companies are making losses, their stock value, it declines. So overall, whenever a value of any commodity is declining, so you understand its demand also decreases, because who would want to invest in a stock which is underperforming? So that is why, because of reduced demand of stocks, markets fall. But whenever bear market happens, you understand this can lead to very huge reduction in demand. So what are the factors that leads to huge reduction in demand for stock? Let us try to understand this. Now there are n number of reasons that can lead to a bear market. First is weakening or slowing down of your economy. Now whenever economy starts to slow down, you understand in coming months, the companies who might be performing better right now, they might start performing worse. So in that case, who would want to invest in the market? They start selling their stocks, and that is why it leads to falling of the stocks. Similarly, when market participants, they anticipate that an economic slowdown is in the horizon, that is, the economy is slowing down and it is further going to slow down further, this also accentuates or it exacerbates the selling sentiments in the market, thereby pushing it further down. Also, investor sentiment is the primary driver of the stock markets. Now, stock markets in general, they work on sentiments or emotions. Many of the reasons that are quoted in order to increase the demand of stocks and reduction in the demands of stock may or may not be true. However, even if there is a fake news in the market, the possibility is that the market will react to it both positively and negatively, irrespective of that the news is true or not. Also, events that are not purely economic, for example, if wars happen, you understand there is a disruption in the supply of oil due to wars in Middle East. Similarly, if there is a natural disaster that might have happened somewhere. So all of these reasons may also be enough to spook investors or to make investors afraid, leading to the dip in stock market. So these are the reasons why market can fall further to make it a bear market. Now, how common is a bear market? Now, bear market, it often precedes what is the phenomena known as recession. Now, whenever economy or the output of the economy, it continues to slow down for 2 quarters, that is 6 months in total, it leads to recession. That is 2 consecutive quarters of economic slowdown or decline in GDP is what you call as recession. So every time a recession has happened, you'll see the markets have become bear. However, this is not always the case. In US, a quarter of bear markets, that is 25% of whenever bear markets have happened, it did not end in a recession. So you can say recession is probable, but it is for sure is going to happen. You cannot say that. Similarly, Indian stock markets also have experienced a bear market sentiments. For example, during the 2008 global financial crisis, we understood the Indian stock market declined as much as 35%. Similarly, during the lockdown during COVID, we saw a huge reduction in the values of Indian stock market. So chances of recession happening, chances of economic slowdown happening, any negative sentiment across the world, be it disruption in trade, disruption due to wars, disruption due to natural disasters, all could lead to a bear market. Now, this is a very simple definition or a very simple way to remember whether a market is a bear market or bull market. Now, what does a bear do? It attacks you with his claws, therefore it pushes you down like this way, right? But what does bull do? Bull uses its horn to push you up. So this is how bear market pushes you down, bull market pulls you up. So this is the very simplest way of understanding bear and bull market. I hope I've made this clear with this example, so you won't forget whenever this question comes. Now, if you won't forget whenever this question comes, let's see if you are able to solve this question. Now, in 2023, a question appeared on stock market. What does the term beta means? Beta actually means the volatility in the stock market. So similarly, I've curated a question on the term bear in context of finance. The term bear refers to what? Yes, all of you are correct. Option C is the right answer. An investor who expects prices to fall and may sell the assets with an aim to repurchase them later at a lower price. Suppose if a stock is at rupees 100 and you own that stock and you expect that this stock will reduce to 70 rupees. So you sell that stock at 100 rupees and buy it back at 70 rupees. So your net profit in this transaction is what? 30 rupees. So that is how bulls make money in the stock market or bears make money in the stock market. Okay. Now let us move to next article. This article actually appeared in yesterday's newspaper. Why am I taking yesterday's newspaper right now? Because today are one of those days when there are very few number of important articles. So that is why I borrowed this important article, which because of time related reasons we were unable to cover it yesterday, but now as the paper today is not very rich as far as UPSC's perspective is concerned, so it has allowed me to cover yesterday's article. But this is a very important article. Nevertheless, from UPSC's perspective, it talks about crisis in the cotton fields. Now, I told you cotton is a major crop in India. Therefore, any production related issue, any geographical condition related to issue which may increase or reduce the cultivation or yields of cotton becomes important from our exams perspective. Now, this graph actually highlights the increase and eventual decrease in the production of cotton in India. Now, what you have to understand, there were some reasons. Back in 2002-2003, our production was quite low and it went somewhat stagnated at this part. But something must have happened in this part, and because of which our production skyrocketed in terms of cotton. And this was the peak in 2013-14 when India cultivated the largest amount of cotton in a particular area. But after that, you see it started to stagnate and eventually it has started to come down. So there might be some reasons which has resulted into decline in cotton production. So in our today's discussion, we'll find out that particular reason only. The context of this article is that India's cotton output in 2024 and 25 has declined to 294 lakh bales, which is the lowest figure since 2008-9, where it was 290 lakh bales. Now, First, let us understand some of the important facts relating to the cotton crop. Now, cotton is grown in the Kharif season, which is the monsoon season, and it is grown mainly for its fiber, which is used in manufacturing of textiles. From shirts to your handkerchiefs to your underwear, everything is made out of cotton. Similarly, cotton seeds are used to make oil as well as animal fodder. So, these are the large scale uses of cotton. Primary use is the use for its fiber, and secondary use it's for its seeds for oil as well as cotton. Now, alternatively, cotton is also known as white gold because of its economic importance for farmers and eventually to our textile industry. Now, you understand textile industry is one of the largest employers in Indian market. It employs more than 2 crore people, directly and indirectly. Now, India in the world, it is the largest producer of cotton globally, accounting for nearly a quarter of global production, that is 23%. Now, what you have to remember from your exams perspective is the climatic conditions that is required to grow cotton. Now, cotton requires warm, dry climate with uniformly high temperatures. So, it requires temperatures around 21 to 30 degrees centigrade. Also, cotton, the most important use of cotton is what? Getting fibers out of that crop. So you understand, fibers or any item has to be dry in nature. So that is why cotton also requires a large amount of frost free period, because frost is injurious to the health of cotton crop. Therefore, it requires at least 200 days which are frost free, so that the cotton product or the cotton crop which has been cultivated is free from moisture. Similarly, it requires moderate amount of rainfall, that is between 550 to 100 centimeters. So you wouldn't find major cotton producing areas in the states where there are huge or high number of rainfall incidences happening. Understand? Now, who are the major cotton producing states in India? These are Gujarat, Maharashtra and Telangana, and you can understand all of these three states, particularly the regions where we grow cotton, these states do not witness large amount of rainfall as compared to other Indian states. Understand? Now, also, why has been cotton's production declining in recent years? First is the reason or the factor of pink bollworm, which is a form of pest. Now, pink bollworm, whose larvae damage the cotton balls that are fruits of cotton, and it also destroys the seeds and lint, that is cotton fiber, and it has developed resistance to the existing BT cotton which is available in the Indian market. Now, BT cotton is the only GM crop which is permissible to be cultivated commercially in Indian market. Any other GM crop is not allowed to be cultivated for commercial purposes. Now, this is the only GM variety which is used in India, that is BT cotton. Bacillus thuringiensis is the name of the GM crop. Now, no new GM approvals have been happened. This was given approval between 2004 and 5. Existing BT cotton, which consists of CRY1AC and CRY2AB genes, they are now ineffective as against the pink bollworm pest, because these pink bollworm pests have become immune to the impact of BT cotton. Similarly, new GM hybrids have been developed by Indian companies and also by Indian universities, but their approval from the various government related entities have not been given, and they are currently in a various stages of trial. Now, as no new GM crop has been commercialized since 2006 when the permission was given for BT cotton, therefore no new GM crop has been introduced which will allow it to deal with such pink bollworm test. Also, India has a very long approval process which is also very political in nature, because we understand in previous few years there was this demand of accepting GM mustard as well as GM brinjal, and the approvals from the required universities and all the regulatory trials were also completed. But when it came to giving permission for its commercial utilization, there were a lot of political as well as economic resistance in India against these kind of genetically modified crops. Also, there are other reasons besides this genetically modified crops which has led to reduction in the yield of cotton. First is the factor of climate change. You understand, climate change has resulted into erratic rainfall, which can also happen in not so seasons of rain, and long dry spells it also affects the healthy growth of cotton growth. Now I told you it requires moderate amount of rainfall, which does not mean no amount of rainfall. So if there is a long period which is full of dry spell, it can actually lower the yield of cotton crop. Similarly, growing cottons now have required farmers to use huge amount of inputs, particularly pesticides. So in order to purchase these pesticides, farmers have to spend a lot of money, which also increases their overall input cost when it comes to cultivating cotton. And when they are required to spend large amount of money in order to grow cotton, overall their profits fall down. So why would any farmer want to cultivate any crop if they are making lesser profit? So also from economic rationale perspective, low profitability has contributed to farmers reducing their reliance on cotton crop. And also cotton in general are grown in a monocropping system. What is a monocropping system? While growing a particular crop, you are not growing any other crop and you are solely dependent on one crop in the entire agriculture year. This is the monocropping system. Also, there is a poor crop rotation which continues that the soil over which cottons are grown, these are majorly black soil, also known as regur soil. Now these soils are primarily used to grow cotton, but you have to ensure that these are nutrient rich by multiple croppings as well as rotation of crops. But when this does not happen, the overall soil nutrient level fall down and it also leads to reduction in the yield of cotton. So this is how the yields of cotton have fallen down. Good evening Achal, good evening Sheetal. Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular PYQ which appeared in 2020. Quickly. साम्यूल आपकी तरह इंग्लिश कैसे बोले सर? कुछ नहीं, बस डेली बोलते रहो, अपने आप सही हो जाएगा. Well, you know, in this question, even if you had forgotten these facts, how you could have solved this answer correctly? A hard frost is injurious to it is a most important statement in this statement, and also a light, well-drained soil capable of retaining moisture. So black soils, they have a quality that they develop cracks which helps it to retain moistures, right? So this two statements are the giveaway that the cotton is the correct answer in this question, even if you forgot these kind of facts in the exam. So that is why I require you to read the answers and the questions carefully before marking the answers correctly, because reading the question more than once will actually click something in your brain by which you will understand the answer is cotton. Okay, Mohit, the answer is cotton, not sugarcane. Sugarcane requires a lot of amount of water which is not much above 50 to 100 centimeters. Now, if you have marked this question correctly, let's solve this particular practice question. Now, cotton is classified as a kharif crop and requires warm, frost-free climate with moderate rainfall. Correct. India is the second largest producer of cotton globally, contributing nearly 23% of global production. This is incorrect. India is what? Largest producer, not the second largest. In last 2 decades, the production of cotton has continuously increased. Has it continuously increased? What did I tell you in the first slide of this particular discussion? It increased during the earlier part of it increased during the earlier part of the 2013 and 14, and after this it has fallen. So third statement also becomes incorrect. Here only first is right. We have to identify correct statements. So again, A option is right. Yes, all of you are correct. Bhanu, Blueberry, Sarang, Shweta, Mohit, Baga, Niranjan, Sheetal, all of you are right. Now let's move to the next article. This article says, why has UGC said it will issue an equivalence certificate for foreign degrees? Now what you have to understand in this regard, that UGC has notified guidelines to streamline and formalize the processes of getting a certificate which will recognize your qualification that you might have got in a foreign educational institution. Now these qualifications can be anything. It can be diplomas, it can be degrees, or even certificates that people take from Harvard. They undertake an online course and they write down Harvard alumni in their LinkedIn profiles. Now these can be used in India. It replaces the existing system which is managed by Association of Indian Universities. So you understand, this actually formalizes the process. This gives the formal as well as government sanctity to the certificates that will be provided, and it will recognize whatever education you have gotten in the foreign university, and using those certificates, it will actually increase the potential of your employability in India. Now, in this regard, let us understand what are equivalent certificates. Now, these are certificates. It is an official document that certifies your foreign educational qualification. These can be anything. These can be degrees, diplomas, or even certificates, and it is comparable to an academic level and value in an Indian qualification. So suppose you've gotten an engineering degree from US. Now you understand US is a good country, so nevertheless you might have gotten even better education than India. But suppose you've gotten your engineering degree from Dubai, right? So if you have to get yourself a job in India, the Indian companies would demand you an engineering certificate that holds legal sanctity in India. But since you've gotten educated in Dubai, you don't have that. So in that case, you go to UGC and demand for an equivalent certificate, which will certify that this course that I've opted for in Dubai actually has the same value of an engineering degree issued by an legal Indian college, right? Now, what is the process, or what kind of qualifications will make you eligible to get equivalent certificate? Now, the awarding institution, that is your college in foreign country, if it is recognized under the laws in its home country, then you're eligible. The programs, admission norms, that is credits, theses, internship, etc. These are comparable or in a similar comparable to Indian qualifications. The students, they must have completed the course as per the norms of the foreign institution. Suppose the engineering degree in your foreign country requires you to complete it in 4 years. But what if, like Munna Bhai, you have completed that course in 8 years, right? So that is not a legal norm in India, so you won't get an engineering or equivalent certificate in India if you have passed your engineering in 8 years, right? Similarly, qualifications from offshore campuses of foreign institutions can also be recognized. Suppose Harvard University opens its campus in, say, London. So you have educated in Harvard University, but not in US, but in UK, London. So in that case also, you'll be eligible to get equivalent certificate because that is a good college located in US, right? Now, let's see if you can solve the particular question. B. Well, it is issued to certify that a foreign educational qualification is equivalent in academic level and value to Indian institution. Correct. Only degrees obtained from main campuses of foreign institutions are eligible for equivalence. Incorrect. I told you even the offshore campuses located in other countries, there you can also get the degrees from. For equivalence, the foreign institution must be recognized in the home country and the student must have completed the course as per its norms. Correct. Now 1 and 3 are right. We have to identify correct one. So B is the right answer. Okay, so Baga, Sarang, Mohit, Bhanu, Shweta, Sheetal, all of you are right. Now, education or the policies relating to or by government relating to education sector, we cover this in detail in the social justice class, which is also an important part of your UPSC syllabus. Now, where are these classes accessible? These classes are accessible in the foundation batches in StudyIQ, which covers everything which you require from prelims to interview, and it also provides you with offers and options to get yourself the prelims as well as mains test series. All of this is included in the course which is available on the website. Now, I tell you that these courses are available in 3 different formats. The best one is the diamond, where all the options or all the features that I've highlighted here, especially Margdarshan by faculties, full refund in case you clear prelims, reward of 11,000 rupees for monthly top performance, and also prelims and main residential program. All of this is available in the diamond courses. Now, to enroll yourself for the diamond course, what you have to do is go to our website, create an account here, click on explore courses. Now, when you click on explore courses, there's a tile that will take you exclusively to the batches which are offered in English subject, right? Now, here what you can do is Click on this tile, which will get you admissions in the April batch. Right now, the courses is available at 43,749, but you can get it for more discounts if you use the code which is flashing on the bottom half of your screen, that is ATS Live. How to apply that code? I'll tell you. Now, there's an option here, add promo code. Click on this one. Here you have to enter the coupon code, write ATS Live and click apply. As soon as you click apply, you'll see that the discount of 8,500 rupees is applicable using the code ATS Live, and the course fees for diamond reduces to 34,999, and similarly for platinum it reduces to 27,999, and for gold it reduces to 17,999. So this is how you get maximum discounts on the courses, but please make sure to apply the code, then only you'll get the discounts, right? And also we take increased efforts and pains in order to teach you important topics and all the topics that are relevant from your prelims and mains perspective, right? Now let's move to the different article. This article appeared in the website of the Indian Express newspaper, and it says prolonged grounding of the advanced light helicopters calls for tough decision. Now the reason why these helicopters have been grounded is that they suffered numerous accidents. For example, ALH, they were grounded in January after an Indian Coast Guard ALH helicopter, it crashed in Porbandar during a training sortie, killing all the 3 occupants that were there in the helicopter. Similarly, back in September 2024, few months before this grounding incident happened, another Coast Guard helicopter had crashed during a medical evacuation mission off the Porbandar coast, claiming another 3 lives. Now I understand the value of people, especially the defense personnel, it is very important. So we have to make sure that any defense equipment that we are using, be it an Indian manufactured equipment or a foreign origin equipment, that has to be safe for the mission. That is why Air Force and the Indian Armed Forces, other organizations who are using these helicopters, they've grounded the entire fleet of LH before they conduct the inquiry and ascertain that these choppers are actually safe to fly, then only they'll be allowed to fly. So therefore, military's entire fleet of Dhruv advanced light helicopters will not fly for another 3 months till the time the investigation and the report becomes public, right? Now, in our exams perspective, what becomes important is this helicopter. Now, this is a multi-role, multi-mission light utility helicopter, which is in the 5.5 ton category, and it is intended to be used for both military as well as civilian purposes. Now, not just the Indian Defence Forces and the Indian Coast Guard, but also many civilian operators, they also use these helicopters, making them very popular in India. Also, India has exported them to other countries like Ecuador and other countries. Now, this has been developed indigenously by HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Now, you understand aircraft development in most developed countries, they happens by private sector. But in India, it is only the government of India and its related public sector enterprises that are responsible for development as well as manufacturing of these important defense equipments. Now, these have been exported to countries like Ecuador, Mauritius, Maldives, and even Nepal. So, therefore, this helicopter is so good, actually, it has the potential to be exported to other countries. But you have to understand, these have to be certain that these are safe for our use. Now, this is a twin engine helicopter that can carry up till 14 passengers, including 2 pilots. Now, you understand many special forces, including the ones that conducted surgical strikes, they depend on such kind of helicopters to transfer troops from one point to another. Now, these are equipped with range of advanced avionics and sensors, including a glass cockpit, digital autopilot, and weather radar. And there's also a separate version of this helicopter known as Rudra helicopters, which is actually a gunship. Now, what are gunship helicopters? Helicopters that have guns and missiles in them, which allows it to attack also, right? So, these Rudra variant of ALH helicopters, these are gunships, whereas Dhruv, these are transport helicopters. Now, the utility of Dhruv ALH has been used in variety of roles, including search and rescue, medical evacuation, troop transport, cargo transport, and also these have been increasingly used in disaster relief as well as humanitarian aid missions. So, it is a multi-role and multi-purpose helicopter. Understand? Now, let's see if you are able to solve this question. Now, a previous year question appeared in UPSC prelims, that what is INS Ashtradharani? Similarly, I have curated this question, what is ALH Dhruv? Please let me know the correct answer. Baga Spring Summer, क्या हो गया तुम दोनों को? Is it a light combat aircraft? That is Tejas. Well, it is a multi-role light utility helicopter, option D. अमर ने कमेंट डिलीट कर लिया. Okay, no problem. Now let's move to aircraft now. Now India's first homegrown civilian aircraft, that is Hansa-3 NG, that is new generation, has been given to a private firm so that this private firm can start commercial manufacturing of this aircraft. Again, this aircraft becomes important from our UPSC's perspective. Now, after 3 decades of development, India's maiden indigenous civil aircraft Hansa-3 NG has been transferred to an industry partner that promises to roll out the first commercial aircraft in the next 18 to 20 months. Now, government has actually developed and manufactured these aircrafts, that are the prototypes. Now, for commercial manufacturing, it has transferred the technology to a private company, which has promised that in given 1.5 years of time, it will start rolling out these aircrafts for civilian and commercial purposes, right? So, in that regard, again, this aircraft becomes important. Now, Hansa-3 NG is a twin-seater indigenous civil aircraft which is developed by National Aerospace Laboratories located in Bangalore. Now, NAL, it works under Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and the uses of these aircraft is primarily for pilot training, recreational flying and aerodynamic research. Now, this purpose of utilizing it for training pilots is something, it becomes very important. Now, all the flying instructor academies located in India, the aircrafts that they're dependent on to teach the pilot students, for that matter, they are dependent on foreign based aircrafts. Now, in India, the civil aviation sector is growing, so naturally the demand for pilots in India is increasing. Also, for every commercial aircraft that is a narrow bodied aircraft, you require anywhere between 18 to 25 pilots, whereas for a wide bodied aircraft, you require anywhere between 30 to 40 pilots. So, you can multiply the number of pilots with the total number of civilian aircrafts that are there in India. So, you require so many amount of pilots, and you understand after Air India and Indigo, they have ordered 500 plus aircrafts each. So, the demand of pilot is already going to increase. So, to cater to this demand of pilot training, we need some kind of an aircraft which is manufactured in India, and also the cost of these kind of aircrafts are relatively half as compared to the foreign imports of same quality and capabilities, right? Now, the key features of these aircraft, that it is powered by an advanced fuel efficient engine. It is actually a normal engine. It has an empty weight of about 550 kilograms and it can carry load of about 200 kilograms. It has an endurance of 7 hours, velocity of up to 620 nautical miles. Now, 620 nautical miles is enough for a trainee pilot, but when a pilot is accustomed to flying jet engines, it can be quite slow. Now, it flies at an altitude of 8,000 feet. So, any pilot trainer aircraft, these are usually slower aircrafts, which allows the pilot to actually make his skill much better in the usual circumstances. And it is the latest version of the Hansa series of aircrafts which began to be manufactured in 1998. Now, this is the first time the aircraft will be manufactured in India using a fully indigenous technology. So, that is why this news becomes important. Understand? Now, let's see if you are able to solve this question. Yes, this time you have gotten it right. Baga, Mohit, Amar, Niranjan, all of you are correct. Option A is the right answer. Now, moving to the last article of the day. This article talks about the BIMSTEC summit that happened recently. It appeared in the yesterday's newspaper. Now, BIMSTEC we have already covered, something which is important from prelims perspective. Today, we'll revise that, and in addition to that, we'll also understand the foreign material, which will be enough for us to write important and good answers in the exam, right? Now, the context of this discussion is 6th Summit of Heads of State and Government and of the member states of BIMSTEC happened in Bangkok, and also in India, it was the Indian government was represented by Prime Minister Modi. Now, in that regard, let us try to revise this body. This is a regional organization, that is BIMSTEC, comprising 7 member states, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, as well as Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand. So, what was the mnemonic I made you understand? The member nations are BBIN as well as MTS. Understand? So this is the mnemonic that you have to remember. Members of the BIMSTEC include BBI and MTS. Now it was formed in 1997 with the aim of promoting multifaceted technical and economic cooperation among the countries who are located quite close to which sea? Bay of Bengal. Now the region, it was covered by BIMSTEC. It is home to around 1.5 billion people, and combined GDP of this region is $3.8 trillion, which is 21% of the global GDP, right? So this is what you have to remember, the relevance of this organization. Now the origin of this organization, that it started as a sub-regional organization with the adoption of Bangkok Declaration. Originally it included 4 member states known as BIMSTEC, that is Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand Economic Cooperation. Now later on it was named to BIMSTEC after Myanmar joined in 1997, and India has 2 groups of countries which India considers its smaller brothers, that is Nepal and Bhutan. So India included them in 2004, leading to another name change. Now after that it started to be known as its current name as BIMSTEC, right? So you can imagine that meme where Rajpal Yadav is covered by his group of friends. So for India is Rajpal Yadav, and smaller nations is his group of friends, right? Now, what is the charter of BIMSTEC? Now, BIMSTEC gains official standing as a legal entity. It interacts directly with the other international organizations of matter of diplomacy. Now, this charter of BIMSTEC is a recent development, and it came into force in 2024 itself. So, it makes it relevant from this year's exams perspective. Now, this charter also has the provision in case BIMSTEC wants to expand its membership in the future, it can do so. Also, it is a structured organization now which has a clear framework which allows for the organization to operate, outlining how the regular meetings will happen at various levels, at ministerial levels, at senior levels, and also there is a provision for reconstitution and reduction in numbers of sector for cooperation. Earlier, there were too many sectors of cooperation which led to duplication of efforts. So, BIMSTEC actually reoriented them, reconvened them, and now there are only 7 areas of cooperation, and each member state is responsible to head one area of cooperation. India serves as a lead sector for security. Similarly, for trade, Bangladesh is the lead sector, right? So this is how different corporations, and there is a separate member state responsible for these kind of corporations. Now, what is the challenge that India is facing when it comes to interacting with BRICS? First, you have to understand is the part of economic disparity. Now, you understand in BIMSTEC, India is the largest economy by far, and other countries, they pale in comparison when it comes to their economic size. Now, what happens with this kind of economic disparity is that every move that is done in this region, it automatically and invariably favors India's interest, and this makes other countries somewhat uncomfortable. So wide economic gap among member countries with India as a dominant economy, and it puts other countries at risk and at a disadvantage unnaturally, and even without intention of India to do so. Similarly, there is an absence of connectivity and significant infrastructure gaps among the member states. Now, there is an inadequate transport and communication network which limits the regional integration. Now, India wanted to increase its connectivity with northeastern states. So, for that, it tried to develop Sittwe port, which is located in Myanmar. But you understand, this port, which is known as Kaladan Multimodal Project, this has not been completed right now, and this highlights that because of significant infrastructure gaps, even the good intention projects have not seen its completion. Also, there is a big institutional limitation. Now, BIMSTEC's institutional framework, it remains weak. It has only been fructified, and it has only been structured with the coming in force of the charter. However, the secretariat in Dhaka, which is, it remains undersourced and understaffed. So that is why there are not amount of people or the finances to deal with the daily paperwork and office work of the BIMSTEC secretariat. And also, this region is witnessing political instability. From last few years, we have seen there is an increased political instability in Myanmar, which had witnessed a military coup. Similarly, now there is an increased political instability with another country, that is Bangladesh. So that is why whenever there is an unstable political situations in countries, it affects overall the regional cooperation and project continuity. Now, for economy to grow, you need political stability, which will provide you with a stable economic and political climate, and this political and stable climate, it actually favors setting up of business and growth of businesses. But when this is not happening in the region, how you will understand that this group will actually materialize, right? So these are the challenges. Other challenges, it includes existence of security threats. Now this region witnesses maritime security threats in the Bay of Bengal from piracy, from smuggling, from illegal fishing activities. Also countries like Myanmar, these are parts of what? Golden Triangle, which is known for its drug related production. So because of these existing security threats, we understand the cooperation between these two countries or flow of goods and services easily across the border can't happen, because you have to close your borders to prevent these security threats to happen in your own country. Similarly, this region also witnesses environmental vulnerability. Now recently only we saw there was this huge earthquake in Myanmar. Similarly, cyclones, they affect Indian Bay of Bengal region, in Bangladesh, in Myanmar coastal region, and also in Thailand. So that is why frequent natural disasters like cyclones, rising sea levels, it threatens the coastal member states, particularly those located in the Bay of Bengal. Also geopolitical challenge, there's a significant geopolitical challenge when it comes to dealing with China. Now China is increasingly interacting with Myanmar, with Bangladesh and Thailand, and this actually undermines India's influence in these member countries. So that is why this actually pits these countries, or this pits these countries into middle. On one side there is India, another side there is China. So kiske paas jayega? Another fact is uneven member engagement. Now some member countries, it prioritizes other regional grouping like ASEAN, Myanmar and Thailand, these are members of ASEAN. Also countries like Sri Lanka, they favor that why don't we interact more with SAARC. SAARC has Pakistan and India is trying to avoid SAARC. So these are the reasons why it has become challenging for India to increase its interaction with with BIMSTEC as a grouping, and also with these individual countries bilaterally. Now let us see what has India done and what should be the way forward. Now India has tried to establish many key institutions and measures so as to improve its interaction with BIMSTEC country. First is establishing Center of Excellence Initiative, where India has proposed specialized BIMSTEC centers for disaster management, sustainable transport, traditional medicines and agricultural innovation. Now disaster management is something India is taking keen interest in. Also India is the first responder to any disaster that may happen in Indian Ocean region. Similarly, in Myanmar, we saw Indian Armed Forces and Indian External Affairs Minister, they have launched Mission Brahma so as to provide immediate relief material to the earthquake stricken countries. Also, sustainable transport is something India is working on quite efficiently. Now, India understands the geopolitical and geostrategic location of Bangladesh, as Bangladesh is right in the middle of Indian mainland and northeastern part of our country. So as to allow better connectivity between northeastern part and Indian mainland, India has actually asked Bangladesh to allow its trains to pass through it. So this will not just improve India's connectivity with northeast, and it will also lead to better delivery of goods, services and passengers who might be required to travel between India and Bangladesh. Also, there is this Bodhi program which was launched to support capacity building and human resource development across member countries. Now, these countries have a large amount of population in control. In togetherness, they have about 1.5 billion population. And when a country has large amount of population, you need to skill train these people so that they become more economically productive. And this is what India is doing under Bodhi program. Similarly, India is undertaking many connectivity boosts, that is promoting infrastructure development through multimodal transport corridors. Kaladan multimodal project I have told you. There was this also BBIN initiative where a transnational highway or IMT, that is India, Myanmar and Thailand Translateral Highway. All of these are initiatives by Indian government to promote what? Transport and movement of people across the country. Similarly, India is also promoting energy connectivity. Indian companies are actually delivering hydropower which is generated in northeastern part of our country to the countries like Myanmar and Bangladesh. So this is how India is looking to increase the infrastructure development and also connectivity in terms of transport and energy with these countries. Also, cultural diplomacy is a very important fact. Now you have to understand these countries, although they have different kind of religions, or the people who are living in these countries, they belong to different religions. For example, in Thailand and Myanmar, majorly the major populations is of Buddhist population. Similarly, Bangladesh is an Islamic state, and India, when it comes to the majority population and the culture, is driven by Hinduism. But what you have to understand that these regions, they have some belongingness with each other. Bangladesh earlier was a part of United India. Similarly, regions of Myanmar and Thailand, although they have majority Buddhist population, but where did Buddhism originate? It originated in India. So this cultural diplomacy is an avenue which will increase not just the cooperation between governments, but also with businesses and with people. So therefore, strengthening people to people ties through cultural events like BIMSTEC games, music festivals, it will help India and other regions to foster regional identity and increase the cooperation with not between the governments but also between societies and businesses, right? So overall there is an increased possibility of integration between BIMSTEC members, and this should be looked positively by India and other member countries, right? Now I hope I've provided you with enough fodder materials. Let's see if you are able to write these answers. You can submit these answers on the Telegram channel ATS Live. And for my side, this is all for today. I'll see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Please have a very good evening and a very pleasant good night.